Across the vast plains of existence, varied dimensions and universes, and lost within the expansive ocean of time, once stood a planet known as Katharia. A world born from ancient and mysterious magics, Katharia was the home to many cultures and civilizations throughout its history. And as the inhabitants of this world explored and expanded to all corners of the planet, an unexpected discovery was made. Powerful glowing ores, which came to be known as origin shards. Over years of research, origin shards were found to resonate residual arcane energy and power, an energy that could be used by any humanoid with the will and courage to harness its power. With this new arcane power within their grasp, the civilizations of Katharia began expanding across their planet far quicker than they ever had before, harnessing the power of the origin shards to shape and reshape the world to their wills. And for centuries, the people of the planet lived and thrived with the power of the origin shards. But as time has proven before, those with power may often become corrupted by it. And in the year 1174, a great evil begins to gather, threatening the balance of the world. But as darkness cannot exist without the light, the threads of fate begin to intersect, bringing together an unlikely group to stand between this threat and the world of Katharia. Encore Variety Hour presents Rolling for Stories, a Dungeons & Dragons radio drama. Episode 1, Welcome to Osaris. Our story begins in darkness. An expansive, empty ocean of pitch black, accompanied by an eerie, engulfing silence. Then in the darkness, a small spark alights, slowly growing more and more, basking more of the darkened sea in its light. The beams of light in the void curve and bend and begin to take shape. Castles, homes, and acres of beautiful natural scenery, all filled with humanoid peoples of all kind. The setting lies still and serene, until a bright flash bursts forth above the countryside. People gasp in fear, screaming and running in any direction they can. Slowly, each part of the world becomes engulfed in more and more flames, licking up the sides of temples, forests, and mountains alike. And rising out from the fires, a massive shadow ascends towards the heavens, a fearsome silhouette looming over the earth. Swinging a limb of its form forward, it lunges with a harrowing screech. A figure jolts forward, rapidly sitting up in their bed, gasping for breath after waking up from a nightmare. Their chest quickly rising and falling, the person shudders for a moment, catching their breath as they come to their senses from being forced awake by their own mind.
Lairs Basque sits up on top of a simple wooden bed, wearing dark, simple clothing made of black and gray fabrics. At almost 6 feet tall, Lairs presents a lanky build with a very defined, sharp jawline and cheeks. The skin across their body is a very pale white color, accented by their piercing gray eyes and sharp white hair. Despite having slept in the clothes they wore yesterday, Lairs' visage is one of being well kept and groomed, so as to not draw unwanted attention to themselves.
Lairs, sitting up in their bed, attempting to catch their breath, recalls having entered the town the day before. As they come to their senses, they remember having rented a room at the Sleepy Donkey Inn. In the distance, the sound of far-off crowds of people can be heard, both downstairs in the tavern and outside in the town. Through the closed shutters of the windows, gentle, soft beams of sunlight land on the simple wooden furniture within the room. Resting on a chair that was pushed against the wall of the room is a backpack with a bedroll and a coil of rope on its sides. Taking a breath to steady themselves, Lairs stands up from the bed, walking towards the window across the room. Opening the window, they then look out over the village of Osaris, a quaint village full of halflings, all bustling to and fro through the streets. Looking down the walkway coming off of the front of the Sleepy Donkey Inn, people are setting up colorful tents and large tables full of food and small trinkets to sell, and other activities to enjoy with each other throughout the quaint town. Lairs steps back from the window, rubbing their eyes, then adjusts their clothes while making a quick check of the room around them. After swinging a sheathed short sword over their torso and then a travel pack onto their shoulders, Layers opens the door of the room, making their way downstairs to the tavern of the Sleepy Donkey Inn. Outside of the tavern, the village of Osaris rests between small, gently rolling grass hills which make up the plains of the natural world around it. Between the small hills, well-worn footpaths run between humbly built wooden homes and small buildings. Away from the central area of Osaris stand a number of barns with fences for holding cattle within, or large fields of corn stalks next to them. On a footpath alongside one such cornfield, a large crowd of majority halflings walk towards the town. The people are talking and laughing, while some are leading ponies pulling small carts, or even some pulling along carts filled with goods themselves. And among this crowd of short-statured halflings, a figure, standing out amongst the rest, stands nearly double the height of the others coming into Osaris.
A purple-skinned tiefling, Cody's matching dark hair runs past her purple horns, stopping at her shoulders. She wears a pink dress with an open-back torso and a skirt with 2 leg slits along the sides to allow for a full range of movement. Walking into town, Cody appears to only carry a small messenger's bag slung over one shoulder and hanging at her side. On her cheeks and around her eyes, a series of light blue tattoos swirl and glow slightly, traveling to her shoulders and down both arms. Pushing some strands of hair out of her face, Cody subtly looks to both sides with her blue, pupilless eyes scanning the crowds of halflings around her.
As Cody walks into town, she takes note of many of the spots off of the walkways through the town and between the buildings where residents and travelers alike have set up in this small village. Underneath a tall oak tree, a long feeding trough has been filled with water, and 4 halflings are leaning over the sides, dunking their heads rapidly into it. After a number of attempts, a young man emerges from the water with a cob of corn held between his teeth before pumping a fist into the air as the onlookers cheer on in celebration. Across the field, 2 pairs of halflings stand around 20 feet apart, facing each other. After taking a step forward, one of them lobs a small sack underhanded forwards, which sails through the air before landing and sliding onto a wooden board with a hole cut through the top of it. The sack stops inches before falling through the hole. In front of a makeshift stage, 2 elderly halfling women sit next to large piles of unshucked corn. Each one grabs an ear of corn and rapidly begins removing the green leaves from the outside of it, before tossing the exposed cob onto a pile on their other side, and grabbing the next ear. And on the stage behind them, a group of 8 halfling musicians play a jovial tune together, with the sound resonating out over the festival. Standing atop a tall bar stool, a young halfling man takes a massive breath before blowing into the mouthpiece of a horn standing nearly 7 feet tall. The body of the instrument curves upwards, down, and circles around before a deep note bellows out from the horn, ending the song being played to enthusiastic applause and cheers from the crowd. Cody walks past a long table with mounds of food piled on it and grabs a leg of poultry before continuing on the footpath into town. After walking for a minute, she stops, and while leaning against the side of a building, taking a bite out of her food, Cody's eyes scan the crowd of halflings, looking for a particular individual. And across the way, a figure that, similar to Cody, stands a full torso above the heads of those in town, catches her attention.
Dante Reinhardt walks through the crowds of the town, with his hands in his pocket and a small white cigarette hanging from between his lips, with a very light-colored smoke showing off the end of it. A human. He wears a small pair of tinted glasses on the bridge of his nose, in front of his turquoise blue eyes, and a mop of dark purple hair that comes down and covers his left eye. Dante wears a black turtleneck and a slightly tattered brown coat, and wrapped around his right forearm, a golden piece of jewelry, styled to look like a snake, sporting 2 emerald eyes.
After blowing a puff of smoke from his mouth, Dante continues walking through the crowded festival grounds. While nearby, Cody turns away, suspecting the figure she saw could be her target. Dante walks up to a small tent with an array of small knit pillows set up on a table beneath it. He glances to his side and catches sight of a purple-skinned tiefling looking in his direction, who locks eyes with him. Dante puts a small pillow with a button sewn to the center back down onto the tabletop. He turns and continues walking further into town. When he starts moving, Cody turns and begins walking perpendicular to his path, while keeping her eyes locked on him. After walking for a few minutes, Dante finds himself further away from the open farm fields and festival grounds, and instead looks up to the humble wooden buildings of the town proper. He approaches one that is adorned with red painted shutters over its windows, and a light brown wooden sign hanging from a post on the side of the wall and swinging gently in the wind. And carved into the wooden sign is a picture of a donkey lying down resting its head on a bale of hay, its eyes closed. And carved beneath the picture is a short sentence written in Halfling, with the common language translation below it, reading, "The Sleepy Donkey Inn." Looking down from the sign, Dante turns his head to one side, looking for his pursuer. And by a building down the footpath, he spots a pair of purple tiefling horns quickly darting behind a wall, right after looking in her direction. Dante takes one final drag from his cigarette before dropping it to the ground and stomping it into the grass with his heel, and then turning towards the front door of the Sleepy Donkey Inn and heading inside. From behind the building, Cody peeks her eye around the frame of a window. Looking through the building and out a window on the opposite wall, she watches as the figure she was following stomps out a cigarette before opening the front door and walking inside. Watching the door swing shut again, Cody tears the last chunk of chicken off the bone with her teeth and begins walking towards the front door of the Sleepy Donkey Inn. Inside the tavern of the inn, Dante immediately notices a sea of halflings within, with nearly all the tables and chairs occupied, and nearly as many people milling about throughout the tavern. The constant sound of chatter, laughter, and jovial conversation is accompanied by the noise of glasses and dishware clanking together. As the patrons enjoy the food and drinks, the waitstaff quickly make their way through the crowds, holding serving trays high above their heads. On the far wall of the tavern, two bartenders rush around behind a bar counter, refilling tankards with dark liquid from spigots punctured directly into large wooden barrels lining the back wall. As Dante walks in, a waiter rushes past, holding a full serving tray in both hands.
Oh, sorry.
Excuse me.
Looking over the tavern towards the back wall, Dante notices a circular table with open seating at it, with only 3 people sitting around the table. Focusing on the people at the table, they appear to be a drow woman, a young red-haired halfling woman, and a small orange-furred tabaxi boy.
Sitting at a table with a mug of tea and a large tome open in front of her, Alexith Chimere is a drow woman of light lavender gray skin, long dark purple hair, and pointed ears much longer than those of other elves. Her electric blue eyes scan over the pages, as she occasionally marks notes in the margins with a quill pen. Hanging from her right ear is a stark white fluffy earring, which swings back and forth with the small movements of her body. The top of her dress is made of a thin sage green lace, the skirt a dark forest green, and draped over her shoulders she sports a dark green shawl. Reaching her hand up, she adjusts a black hat with a pointed top and a large circular brim, that on the underside a spray of stars and galaxies swirled gently on a dark sky of blues and purples.
Andrew Hilltopple is a short halfling with red hair and 2 braids going down her back. Underneath a set of scratched and dented secondhand armor, she wears a pair of dirt-stained overalls. Her pale skin sports a menagerie of freckles all over her nose and cheeks. Sitting at the table in the tavern, she looks around through the crowd of halflings that she knows, tapping her foot on the ground as she does.
With his face and hands fully in a pie tin resting on the tabletop, Pumpkin is a small orange-furred tabaxi boy with 1 green and 1 yellow eye. Across his face, his fur sports an array of dark orange stripes with bits of pumpkin pie crumbs stuck to his cheeks. His outfit is a brightly colored purple robe and pointy hat with simple drawings of stars and moons adorning its fabric. Hanging from his neck is a small blue gem, and over his shoulders he wears a small backpack with a small brown teddy bear which is missing one of its button eyes, peeking out from the top flap of the backpack.
Dante spots that this appears to be one of the only tables in the tavern with open seating at the Sleepy Donkey Inn. As he starts trying to push his way through the crowd of halflings, Cody comes in through the front door of the tavern, seeing her target looking out over the tavern patrons.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Pardon me. Excuse me.
Cody approaches Dante from behind, tapping him on the shoulder.
Might be faster if we both walk together. We'll split more.
Sure, I guess. Excuse me. Coming through.
Cody takes the lead, starting to push through the crowd. As she steps forward, an older halfling man sitting nearby pushes his chair out to stand up, ramming the back of his seat directly into Cody's shin. Cody stumbles over the chair before she trips over her other foot and begins to fall. Quickly, Dante reaches forward, grasping around Cody's forearm, stopping her fall halfway.
You alright?
I hate this village already. Maybe you lead.
Yeah, maybe that'd be best.
Dante helps her up to her feet, and after a minute or two of pushing through the crowd and dozens of excuse me's and pardon me's, the two make their way over to the table with only the 3 patrons seated at it that was spotted previously.
Is it alright if my, friend and I here grab a seat?
Alexith glances up from her book.
Sure, have a seat.
Thanks.
Whoa, please have a seat.
Thanks?
Dante pulls out a chair next to the drow woman and sits down, while Cody slumps into the seat next to him. She raises a finger up, looking around for a waiter.
Ale?
Across the tavern, a halfling waitress who looks to be in her late 40s and wearing her light brown hair in a braid crown, with loose strands of hair sticking out of it, looks up at the sound of Cody's calling and nods in acknowledgement. A minute later, the waitress approaches the table.
What are you drinking, honey?
Whatever you got.
Great.
I'll do a special, please.
Another round, maybe?
Miss?
Yes?
Do you have chocolate milk?
Maybe.
Quickly, the waitress turns and begins walking back through the crowd towards the bar. Dante turns towards the small tabaxi boy.
How old are you?
This many.
Pumpkin holds up 6 fur-covered fingers across 2 paws. Hesitantly, Dante turns towards Alexith.
Is he allowed in here?
I honestly have no idea.
I mean, as long as he's not drinking.
Yeah, that's true.
Across the tavern space, a figure of pale white skin and matching hair comes down from the stairs going up to the sleeping rooms and looks out over the crowd. Seeing only a few open seats at one far table in the tavern, Layers approaches an open spot up against the wooden wall of the inn and leans up against it.
Anyways, do you mind telling me why you were tailing me before?
You looked familiar.
Do I now? Am I...
What's your name?
Dante Reinhardt?
That's not it. Sorry, you're not the person I was looking for?
Okay, who are you looking for then?
It's not important. Why are you... Hi!
Hi?
Hi!
Hi, how are you?
Good?
What's your name?
Pumpkin.
That's a cute name for a cute little guy.
Yeah, you wanna meet my teddy bear?
Of course.
You have a teddy bear?
Yeah, Mr. Tibbers.
Sure.
Pumpkin reaches behind him, struggling to get into his backpack before pulling out a plush, tan-colored toy bear that is nearly the same size as Pumpkin. Mr. Tibbers has a red button sewn on for one eye and an empty stitch over where the other eye would be. Across his fabric are many lines of stitches that have patched up wear and tear and are holding the stuffing inside the doll. Pumpkin brings the teddy bear up with both hands and sets him sitting down on top of the table.
Well, he's adorable.
That's a very nice teddy bear.
Can I give him a head scritch?
Yeah!
Dante leans towards Alexith.
Who the hell is he?
I'm new here as well, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
He just showed up with a pumpkin pie and started eating it.
It's very good. Not as good as my pumpkin cupcakes, though.
You have pumpkin cupcakes?
Yeah, I make them myself.
You're a baker?
Well, I need help because I can't reach, but yeah.
As this conversation continues, Alexith looks over Dante's shoulder to the far side of the tavern, to a dark brown door, which while she watches, quickly opens and closes. Closing the door behind her, a young halfling woman in her early to mid-20s steps out into the inn. She has long, bright blonde hair that messily goes down over her shoulders, and she wears a loose-fitting blouse, which has one of the shoulders draping down and a matching blue skirt. Stepping towards the crowd, she quickly brushes her hair behind both ears and briskly walks away into the sea of patrons with a subtle smile on her face. Moments later, the same door opens again, this time much quicker, which slams into the wall next to it. Stepping forth from the now open door, a dark elf man walks out with a lute slung over his shoulder and a massive dopey smile on his face. The drow looks over the crowd with his chest puffed out proudly.
Good morning, sleepy donkey!
Oh, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
Who is that?
You don't want to know.
The drow man walks through the crowd of halflings, grabbing a tankard of ale off of a waiter's serving tray as he does, before heavily sitting down next to Alexith and kicking his feet up on the table.
Sorn Keimer may be one of the most attractive drow men one has ever seen. He wears a billowy sleeved white shirt with a deep V-shaped collar. His pants are tied with a golden colored sash and a pair of fine black leather boots that stop just below his knees. Draping off of his right shoulder is a silk cape matching his pants color, with golden inlay and trim. His dark, black hair messily comes down his head, draping just onto his shoulders and accenting his beautiful lavender gray skin. Reaching into a side pouch on his hip, he pulls out a crumpled up, wide-brimmed hat with a large yellow feather, flicks it out, and pats it down before setting it on top of his head.
Sorn looks over and points two fingers at Alexith, who rolls her eyes before turning back to her book. The drow man then looks over, noticing Dante. His eyes go wide.
Dante, buddy!
Hey.
Sorn stands up, walking over to Dante, and wraps an arm around his neck from behind, while rubbing his other closed fist on top of his head.
What's it been, buddy?
It's been like half a year already, I think.
Have you had your daily dose of alcohol yet?
No, not yet.
Here, take a swig of this.
Sorn grabs his tankard from off the table, holds it up to Dante's lips, and begins pouring.
I'm good. I have a special coming. I'm okay.
Oh, of course you do, buddy.
Sorn releases Dante before sitting in the seat next to him. He props his feet back on the table and rests his left elbow on Dante's shoulder.
Please take your boots off the table. That's disgusting.
Why? You know they're clean.
Oh, I know they're not.
Sorn looks around at the other people sitting at the table, raising an eyebrow at both Cody and Andri.
Making new friends?
Sure.
Sorn leans back in his chair, putting both hands behind his head, and begins whistling to himself.
So I see you had some excitement last night.
We don't need to bring it up.
I know we don't.
Oh, I'm more than happy to talk about it.
No, you don't have to.
Alexith rolls her eyes again before flipping the page of her book. Sorn smiles smugly.
Do you two know each other?
Dante! This is my sister, Lexi.
Oh, you're Lexi.
Alexi.
My apologies.
Do you not see the perfect resemblance?
I suppose. I mean, you only mentioned her like once, so.
I guarantee I mentioned you more than that.
He didn't.
I have heard of you, though.
You have? What have you said, Sorn?
What? Nothing incriminating.
That just makes me think you have.
I said that you're more fun when you get injured.
Which is a wild thing to say, may I add.
Don't. Why would you tell her that?
Why?
Because it's Sorn.
Because we had so much fun, remember?
The waitress walks back to the table, holding a large serving tray with half a dozen tankards full of a dark brown ale, and sets it down on the table. She looks over at Pumpkin before taking one of the tankards back. Soren glances over at the waitress.
Hi, my name's Soren.
You just woke up.
Oh, I've been up for a while.
Cody reaches into her side coin purse, taking a gold coin out and placing it on the serving tray.
Oh, thank you so much, sweetie.
I see you haven't changed at all, Soren.
What's there to change?
While the group talks with each other, Andrew looks up to the far side of the bar. Through the front door, a halfling figure walks in. A teenage boy, not any older than 14 at most, walks up to the bar and, putting his hands on top of the counter, hoists himself up onto it and stands overlooking the crowd gathered in the tavern. Seeing this, one of the bartenders nods to him before going over to a bell mounted to the back wall and pulls on the rope hanging from inside it, which rings the bell loudly several times throughout the bar. Slowly, the patrons of the Sleepy Donkey Inn all turn to face the bar, temporarily stopping their conversations. The halfling teenager says,
"Oh hey, everyone. The festival opening ceremony's starting soon, so head over to Farmer Apple Moon's farm if you want to see that. Oh, and if any of you are here because of the wanted posters that were asking for mercenaries, I guess follow me and I can help you with that. Okay, thanks."
The halfling teenager steps down from the bar top as most of the patrons start picking up their tankards and plates of hearty food and begin going towards the doors, starting up their conversations again as they do. As the crowd begins to leave, a handful of people start walking over to the halfling teenager. After the crowd of the bar has mostly dispersed, Andrew spots 7 people standing near the halfling teenager. A few minutes pass as the townsfolk leave the Sleepy Donkey Inn, leaving the group sitting at their table.
Didn't you want to attend the opening ceremony?
I don't have any plans. I don't see why not.
Great.
You said there was a festival, so I figured we were here to party.
Attend the festival, sure.
To party, yes.
You... Potato. Then yes, did you all want to come with us?
Yes! Is everyone else joining?
Soren stares directly at Cody.
Soren?
What? What did I say?
Behave yourself, please. We just met these people.
Well, no time like the present to get to know someone.
Well, I've known him for like half a year.
We just met most of these people.
Anyway, I don't know about you all, but I came here for some information, so I'm heading over to the mercenary thing.
On a job?
Not a job, necessarily, but, you know... Anyway.
Dante pushes himself back from the table, standing up from his chair.
Drow boy, if I could offer a little advice, you may want to be a little more careful with your exploits. I don't think Christy's father would be very happy.
Oh!
Andrea takes her mug of ale in hand before bringing it up and in a few big gulps empties the tankard. She sets it back down and begins to get up from her seat. Soren leans in.
Yes, I will have to... I'm so sorry. My name is Soren, and what about your father? What would his take be on the situation?
Oh my gods.
Hey, are you all mercenaries over there? Are you here for the gold?
I'm always here for the gold.
Okay, well, we're gonna come here then, please. I think.
Yep, thank you.
We're on our way.
Yep.
Dante and Cody begin walking towards the end of the bar. While walking, Cody glances around the bar again, which is much emptier than earlier. Looking to the back wall of the tavern, she spots a tall, pale figure who didn't walk out with the rest of the patrons out into the village.
We can always have more people. I don't know what I was told, but I think it's like 700 or so gold or something. If you would win, I don't know, but if you want, you can participate.
The other 7 patrons standing by the teenager all look at him with confused looks on their faces.
Yeah, we're on our way.
Cody looks back at Lairs, leaning up against the wall.
Ah, shit.
Sliding in from her periphery, Soren steps in front of Cody, tipping the front of his hat with his right hand.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
The hat's a little big.
I agree, isn't it? It's a little obnoxious.
Yeah. Not like yours, though. Yours is like a normal size.
Thank you.
Layers looks over to the group talking.
So, you were here for the party too?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't think you're going to get a direct answer out of her, Soren. Best just to leave it.
Well, we're here for a while, right?
I mean, we can stay as long as we want, I think.
Fine by me.
Anyway, I'm gonna go over here and see if I can make some money by clocking people, so bye.
You're gonna leave now?
Cody looks at Soren for a moment before turning around and briskly walking over towards the bar, joining Dante. Alexith turns to Pumpkin.
And your plans for the festival?
I wanted to meet up with my friend. I think she's going to be at the ceremony, but I was wondering, what book are you reading?
Oh, it's just a book about plants.
Oh? What kind of plants?
Boring plants, probably.
Ones that can be used in salves and medicines and...
Magic?
Magic, yes.
I like magic.
Me too.
I can do magic.
Can you?
Great, so we all like magic.
Pumpkin and Alexith look at Soren, confused and annoyed, respectively.
So, I do know the way to the farm if you guys wanted to head over to the ceremony.
Oh, we would love to, wouldn't we?
Yes, a guide would be great, considering most of the tavern left already.
Okay, I think we can go now. Follow me.
The halfling teenager begins to lead the group out of the tavern. As he leaves, he waves to those sitting and standing around the table, motioning for them to follow.
I mean, I'm going. I don't know about you.
I'm here for a quick buck.
Well, should we get going then?
I'm ready whenever.
Bye!
Pumpkin stands from his seat and begins walking by himself towards the door of the inn. Cody stands from her seat before turning back around. Locking eyes with Soren, she winks and gives a coy smile before turning and walking away, her tail swishing behind her.
That's gonna be fun.
Soren's eyes go wide as he sits up in his chair. He brings his hands up and begins to slap his sister's shoulder with a big dopey smile on his face.
Ow! What?
Soren gestures excitedly towards Cody.
Don't read into it, please.
I'm just saying, there's a chance.
Meanwhile, Dante and Cody push their way through the inn's front door and out into the bright sunlight of the village.
You really don't want to get involved with him. He's nothing but trouble.
It's just a little fun.
All right.
Andri stands up from the table, to which the siblings begin to follow her out.
I'm just saying, she's like a 10.
In their separate groupings, everyone begins to make their way across town. The young halfling begins to lead them behind the crowd, which is presumably headed towards Farmer Applemoon's farm. On the journey over, the walkway gets briefly interrupted by two long metal lines running perpendicular to the town street. Between the metal bars, a series of wooden planks rest, seeming to have nails holding the metal rails in place. Looking down the length of the metal lines in either direction, the path runs onwards for several hundred feet before curving slightly and disappearing behind a small hill in the distance. At the end of the path, a large sea of seats, benches, and chairs have all been set up, all facing a medium-sized, fenced-in pen, which rests atop a gently ascending small hill. Inside the fences, where typically would be any selection of livestock, are no animals at all. In the array of seats, the villagers of Osaris are all beginning to file in, excitedly clamoring to find a place to sit, either in a chair or on blankets spread out over the soft grass. Looking back into the crowd, Cody spots Soren and walks up to him.
Are you gonna come have some fun with us?
Okay.
Soren turns back to Alexith.
Duty calls!
Soren hands his hat to his sister as she rolls her eyes and follows behind Cody. As the crowd continues to talk and laugh, the halfling boy leads his group of mercenaries to the opposite side of the circular farm fence, with Soren, Dante, and Cody following behind. He stops walking as he has led the group to two long wooden benches, which he gestures to them all to sit.
Okay, so just wait here, please, and we'll start soon.
The halfling teenager then turns and darts off.
What exactly are we? And he's gone.
The boy rushes over to the fence, climbing over it before hastily running up to an older halfling man, talking with a group of other older men on the opposite side of the fence. The boy goes to the man's side, saying something into his ear, to which the man nods his head at.
Yeah, what exactly did the sheet say again?
1 second, I have the poster still.
You took it with you? I just saw it and went, that's some money.
Dante reaches into his pocket, retrieving a folded up and weathered piece of paper. Opening it up, he looks at the poster. It reads, 17th of Sempronia, 1174, Osaris, Merriman. Mercenaries wanted. Capable mercenaries needed in the village of Osaris in Merriman on the 17th day of the month of Sempronia. Will be well compensated in gold upon the completion of the task required. Successful completion of the task required also will be compensated with free admission to the Spring Thaw Festival. Inquire at the Sleepy Donkey Inn in the morning before the Spring Thaw Festival opening ceremony begins at midday.
It doesn't say exactly what we'd be doing, but that we would be compensated for doing it. Though I have a general idea of what may be coming.
After a bit, the older halfling man looks out across the crowd. The halflings gathered are all talking, laughing, and having a good time. Groups of children run around, chasing each other and holding small sticks in their hands, pretending they are swords. Elderly grandparents sit quietly nearby, holding small baby halflings on their knees, or simply watching the crowd of people around them with a content smile. The older halfling man nods to the teenaged boy before turning and walking towards the center of the fenced-off area. The man is short, even for a halfling, with the top of his head balding but vivid white hair on the sides of his head and large bushy eyebrows. Matching this, he sports a very long white beard, which drapes down past the center of his torso. The man wears a long blue cape, which flits off behind him as he walks, revealing a large, leather-bound tome and a multi-colorful quill pen holstered on his hips. Standing in the center of the animal pen, he unhooks the quill from his side and points it outwards ahead of him. The man begins drawing in the air with it, which spawns crackling sparks of yellow as he traces an arcane symbol floating in the air. He then quickly grasps the drawn symbol in his opposite hand before clasping it to his chest and shouting,
It's Hativel!
The halfling man's feet slowly leave the soft grass he was standing on as he slowly begins to levitate, rising higher and higher off of the ground, coming to a stop while floating 20 feet off the ground. The man then traces another symbol with his quill before grasping it to his chest again and saying,
Ifilpma!
Watching, the audience begins to cheer as the wizardly man now floating before all of them, clapping and shouting in excitement. The halfling man begins to speak, and his voice loudly carries and echoes across the town, being heard easily by all in attendance.
Ladies, gentlemen, and other distinguished guests. Hill whistles, bramble hearts, hill topples, flint pots, and all others in attendance. I, of course, am Professor Finzin Proudseeker, and welcome to this year's Spring Thaw Festival. I believe I can speak for all of us when I say that the year 1174 has been a great one for all of us here in Osaris and in many of the other villages across Merriman. This has been in no small part to the tracks that have been completed recently running through our town that can lead the so-called locomotives all the way into both Gilthurum and Heartshield. Hopefully this continues to be a boon for carrying both halflings and the great goods we create here all over the place. But I won't ignore reality either. It's been no secret that, especially in the past weeks, we have had our share of hardships. Many of our people in the village have been burgled in the nights, with much of our stored food and goods being taken from our barns and our homes. Even some of you traveling into town for this festival have spoken of lost ingredients and suppers. But my friends, this is why we are here today. You see, from these fine sellswords we have gathered here today, the best of them will be hired to seek out those responsible, bring them to justice, and return our stolen goods to us in time for the grand feast.
Dante pulls out a cigarette, putting it between his lips.
I hope you're all ready for a fight.
Wait, he said people coming into town were robbed? Wait a minute.
Checking through his pockets and coin purse, Soren counts out his gold pieces and sees that there are 5 less gold pieces than the evening before.
Kristen.
Now, we have managed to attract the attention of a few upstanding mercenaries who are willing to take on the challenge. But I would just like to offer once more
If anyone else here is willing to participate and wants the chance to earn upwards of 700 gold pieces, now is the time. Finzen floats gently in the air as the crowd murmurs quietly amongst themselves. None? All right then. So, the group we have here today looks very formidable, but to me, it looks like it's a bit too much of a crowd for a task such as this. So I say, let's start this festival off with a bang. The mercenaries will enter this fenced-in area in a moment, and then the last few which are left once I decide enough time has gone by,
That's what I thought.
will be the winners. And those eligible to receive upon successful completion of the job, a total of 700 gold pieces. So, grab your snacks and grab your kids, we're starting this festival with a doozy. The crowd cheers more as Finzen begins to descend back down to the grass below.
I hope you're ready for a fight.
Oh, I'm always ready for a fight.
Professor Proudseeker quickly walks over to the mercenaries sitting on the bench seats. He speaks, his voice now normal and unamplified. Now, this is a family event, so we don't actually want you all to kill each other. You know, try and keep it a little held back. Also because that would be bad.
Knock each other out, but don't kill each other.
Sure, we don't want anyone to go for killing blows, please. Just a demonstration of what you all can do, so the people feel confident that you all can retrieve our goods. If any of you go unconscious, we'll have someone pull you out of the ring and heal you back up. Sound good? Alright, get in line. I'll announce each of you as you step into the ring. And don't start the fight until I say so. The other mercenaries all stand up and begin readying themselves, getting in a line near Finzen. Each one whispers into his ear, and as each one climbs over the fence into the arena, he loudly announces their names to the audience, using his magic to amplify his voice once more. Turning back towards the bench seating, Professor Finzen looks at Cody, who is next in line. Alright, what's your name? Cody reaches into her side pouch and produces a pair of brass knuckles, which she slides onto her fingers.
Cody.
Alright, get in there. Walking into the ring, Cody brandishes her arms downwards in front of her torso, down to her sides. As she does, small blades emerge from each side of the knuckle dusters. Here we have Cody! The crowd pauses for a moment, seemingly expecting more. After a beat, a few scattered applause and cheering come up from the scattered parts of the crowd. Finzen turns to Dante. Okay, what's your name?
Dante Reinhard.
Now we have Dante Reinhard. Dante walks forward as his golden snake armband begins to move, slithering up and down his arm. As it approaches his hand, its body elongates, transforming into a spear, which he grasps in his hand. Edge boy, yeah! The crowd exclaims in surprise, and Dante glares at the drow man. Soren walks up to Finzen.
This guy's badass.
Yes. What's your name?
Sorn Keimer.
And finally, folks,
Scourge of the Seven Seas.
we have Sorn Keimer.
Fine.
Soren somersaults across the grass, grasping two handles at the back of his lute. Pulling them apart, the lute morphs into two curved cutlasses. He cuts the blade through the air, manifesting glowing blue fire across their path through the air, that fly off and sparkle through the air before they land. Swishing his blades through the air, Soren sings out,
These blue lights of mine, I'm gonna let 'em shine.
Cody rolls her eyes, leaning her head backwards in exhaustion of his antics.
Ugh.
Like I said, he's a bit of a show-off.
Standing to Dante's right is a crazed-looking goblin named Slugface. He rapidly turns towards Dante with his eyes wide open and a massive, toothy grin. Swinging his blades, the blue fire comes down and forms into a humanoid shape, which morphs into a silhouette that looks nearly identical to Soren himself. In sync, both Soren and his duplicate put a hand to their chest and bow down low towards the crowd. The crowd laughs and cheers, with some rising to their feet applauding.
Like I said.
This is a decent show!
Sitting in the crowd, Andrew leans over towards Alexith.
He's a bit dramatic, isn't he?
Only always.
Is this Cody girl going to wipe the floor with him?
We'll certainly find out.
Finzen walks around the outside of the fence, facing the contestants inside.
All right, is everyone ready?
The mercenaries nod, their eyes intently trained on each other.
And begin!
But that's a story for another time. Rolling for Stories, a Dungeons & Dragons radio drama. Episode 1, Welcome to Osaris. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider following us on Spotify or subscribing to the channel on YouTube at Encore Variety Hour. Game mastering, narration, and production done by QG Stivenberg. Alexith Keimer is played by Jessica Massal. Soren Keimer played by Ethan Kazitsky. Andrew Hilltopple played by Rachel Hippus. Dante Reinhardt played by John Spaeth. Cody played by Abby Kramer. Layers Basque played by Katie. Pumpkin played by Meadow Nightshade. The Blood Hunter class is created by Matthew Mercer and Critical Role. Dungeons & Dragons is created by Wizards of the Coast. Special thanks to FantasyNameGenerators.com. For more information about the show and a full list of third-party media and homebrew content used, check out the episode description on Spotify or the video description on YouTube. Thank you for listening.